The source material for this reaction video has been edited for pacing. Dead air and unrelated material have been removed, but clips remain chronological and in context, for edutainment purposes only. Noah Samsen doesn't seem to be very good at video essays, so is he good at video anything? In this video, we're going to follow along with a story time. Let's see if he does better.
It's my hot body, I'll do what I want.
It's showtime.
Hey, hello Noah Timers. Welcome back to the show.
Note to self, don't make video introductions so specific that people won't understand them a year later.
I don't got any chores for you today or workout stuff. I'm gonna do that later.
Really? You're not even gonna make your bed for us?
But figure we could just hang out and chat if you guys are down.
Baby, are you down, 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 down?
Down, down. I mean, yeah, go for it.
If it's the morning and you're looking for some morning motivation meditations,
Your mouth sounds make this way too intimate. I'm uncomfortable.
get after it. Go get that.
Your whole shtick is, I have no emotional affect.
Go get the asses of those dishes.
Your dishes have asses? How do they sit flat on the table?
Be yourself.
What if the person I am is a total shit?
Spread love. Be a positive role model in your community.
I thought this was a story time. Why are you giving me a lecture?
What else is good stuff that you can do?
It's obviously past your bedtime. Either hurry up or go to sleep.
Get groceries if you need groceries.
You don't do your own grocery shopping. Who are you to tell someone else to go do theirs?
Get out of bed.
You first.
I don't know what else self-help can offer other than just all that shit, but
What are you talking about self-help? That wasn't self-help. You just ordered me to do a bunch of things in my own best interest.
there you go. If you needed that, now you can leave.
Are you trying to get rid of me before you actually start telling the story?
Just kidding. Don't leave, please. My video's been flopping.
Are you going to talk to me or are you going to keep looking at your phone?
Oh yeah, today's topic of discussion
I'm so glad you used the word discussion because that's what this is going to be.
is how my ADHD got me fired from a job.
Just one?
Multiple jobs.
Were you ever diagnosed?
Now, I say fired. That might be a slight exaggeration or technical perversion of the truth.
Technical perversion of the truth is an adorable phrase and has nothing to do with you lying about the fact that you weren't fired, you just quit.
Because I was a freelance video editor, like a music video filmer and editor.
Disingenuous statement. You use the word film incorrectly as if you're trying to portray yourself as being more knowledgeable about the job that you say you did than you actually ever have been.
And getting fired from a job in that sense is just like canceling a contract for a video,
So you quit.
basically, or just having, I'll talk about what happened, but it wasn't like I, was in an office and then someone said, get out.
Of course not. That's a fictional trope.
And then they say, pack your stuff, and they hand you a cardboard box, and I'm dressed as Dwight, Office Dwight.
Of course, it's a reference to The Office. That only happens on TV. IRL, you have to bring your own cardboard box.
And I have glasses, and then I'm like, oh, and I have to fill up a box with books and my 1993 Linux computer.
The computer belongs to the company. You'd be taking home desk toys and fidgets.
It wasn't like that.
Of course it wasn't. That's fiction.
But basically, in 2017, or 2016, I graduated high school.
Class of 2016. Got it.
I went to college. I went to school in Canada
Canada, eh? I've never heard of an American doing that.
at this university called Simon Fraser. I played football.
Oh, scholarship.
Towards the end of 2016, coming into 2017, I ended up leaving Simon Fraser. I quit football.
Don't try to confuse us by moving things around. The very same year you matriculated into that university, you quit football, therefore lost your scholarship, therefore dropped out of university the same year you entered university.
Decided to basically come back home to Washington and
Be yet another undereducated white male in America.
recoup and do something different.
Recoup from what? You've never told us anything that was particularly stressful. You just said you quit football.
I think basically I was kind of done with sports, and
You only played sports to get a college scholarship in the first place.
I didn't want to, get a concussion. I've already had a few,
How long did it take you to come up with that excuse?
and I'm already like on the brink in terms of intellectual capacity. So
That's not funny because it's actually true.
no need to jeopardize that any further. But anyways,
Bullshit. You quit because you didn't want to do it.
I got into filming like random shit. I think I started doing like random little YouTube videos. Maybe some of them are still public on my channel. I don't think so.
What's your definition of random shit?
The first one I did was actually when the stuff from college was still in my car.
That wasn't because you tried YouTube so soon after dropping out of college. It's because you still hadn't taken the shit out of your car yet.
And I was,
If I knew, I wouldn't need you to tell me.
driving around. I took like my little baby sister to like church or something.
Was the video about her?
Oh, it's private, but I'll make it public.
Well, if it's your baby sister, I don't think you should.
If you're watching Noah Time, it's on my main channel. But
Take a sip of water. Your saliva clicks are gross.
from that, I think like a friend of a friend was like, "Hey, would you ever film a music video?"
From what? You never told us what the video was. Was it a video of your baby sister? Was it a video of you driving down the road? What the heck was the video?
And it was kind of similar around this time that Lyrical Lemonade, if anyone's familiar with like that kind of basically record label, music video production company.
What do you mean, that kind of? Lyrical Lemonade's rather unique and original, and there aren't a lot of things like it.
By Cole Bennett, that was starting to like blow up like early 2017, kind of mixed with the SoundCloud rap wave.
That is the only piece of concrete, credible information you have shared in this video thus far.
So I started doing that. Basically, I like filmed a music video in a gas station, and I used After Effects to like do some cute, silly little animations.
I'm confused. Lyrical Lemonade's based in Chicago. You're in Washington State. How did this happen? Did you go to Chicago? Did they come to you? What's going on? What did you film with? What kind of equipment did you use? Used After Effects? That's amateur shit.
And it was fun because a lot of that stuff I had done when I was younger, like when I was in middle school.
They didn't teach you not to pick your ears in front of other people?
I like learned a lot of stuff in After Effects to make videos of like GoPro videos. I would like skateboard and film it with a GoPro.
You had a GoPro in middle school and you still needed a scholarship? Or was the only way you got accepted to a university was because you would go play football? That's it, isn't it? It was a conditional admission, not a scholarship.
And that was like super fun. So I had some experience in that regard.
Your experience is specifically with stunt cinematography.
But anyways, I started doing that more, and then I started working with more people, and eventually like worked into working. I never worked with big artists or really went through any like professional channels.
Of course not. You wouldn't be hired by a professional.
I had a couple contracts with smaller labels to like video contracts, like this is what you have to do start to finish type things.
I don't know what that means. They give you a music video project and you direct it, shoot it, and edit it. They send you footage and you put it together the way they want. What does that mean?
And
if you were telling a true story, you wouldn't need to keep referring to your notes.
I don't know. I was working on the craft, building an artistic perspective.
There's a tell. You had to get that line from your phone, which has your script, because you know certain things that you should say to sound like an artist, except everything you know, like your example from The Office, is based off of fictional tropes. No real artist talks like this.
Or building like a portfolio of like, attempts to make different styles of art.
An artist portfolio isn't a collection of attempts to try different things. An artist portfolio is a collection of successful projects that exemplify the artist's skills.
And, a lot of it early on was very derivative.
Yeah, but you're talking about what you did in middle school, and everything's derivative when you're that young.
Like I would see people in the same space make things, and I would kind of try. I don't know, when you're early on, when you're creating stuff like that, it's always going to be derivative. You're going to be a product of your influences until you can really have enough experience to branch off.
Did this work for your audience? Because as a professional artist, I'm finding the things you say to be hilarious.
And maintain the stylistic boundaries of a medium while creating something unique.
There are no stylistic boundaries to a medium, but those limitations are related to the physicality of the medium itself and not to any style an artist might choose.
And basically, I think at a certain point, I started to, all the way throughout the process, it would be really hard for me to keep up with projects.
You only got into university because you play football and you dropped out of university in your first semester. So you don't have any of the organizational skills necessary to be a professional.
I think early on, I was just like, I'm doing stuff. Like, I got this thing. I really am having fun. Let's just do this. And it was kind of like a hyperfixation.
That sounds more truthful, and not just because you were using childish language.
More of
What does your earwax smell like?
an obsessive manner. But as soon as it became a regular thing and as soon as it basically became a job, it wasn't a full-time job.
Of course it wasn't. It's gig work for low pay. You were probably living at home and working at Pizza Hut.
Because I was like living with my grandma.
Oh, I was so close. I didn't count on your parents kicking you out when you dropped out of university.
For a while during that period is when I worked at, or I guess before that, I worked at Papa John's.
So the chronological chain of events is drop out of college, move back home, parents don't want you there, move in with grandma, get a job at Papa John's. Are you sure it's not Pizza Hut? And while you're working at Papa John's, edit videos.
But then it was more so just like get enough to like pay a little bit in rent and then
Bullshit. Your Papa John's money was your pin money, your play money. Grandma supported you.
I don't know, just kind of fuck around, basically.
Yeah, you dropped out of college. You had to get some kind of job so you'd have some kind of income, and you were lucky enough to have supportive family to keep you afloat during that time.
Which is a very, uniquely lucky position to be in.
So you do appreciate your grandma's support.
I'll always reference that. When people ask me, how do you be a YouTuber? I'll say you have to have 3 or 4 years of time to just fuck around.
You lived with grandma for 3 or 4 years while working at Papa John's?
So what was I saying? As I started to work more regularly and as these projects, I don't know, I was like, ooh, I can charge someone this much money and they'll pay me.
We've got 2 Kens down here who sound just like you.
That's cool. Let's just charge more. I was I think, capitalism brainwash into wanting to like...
There's nothing wrong with the capitalism. There's nothing wrong with the free enterprise.
That's not brainwashing of capitalism. That's wanting to be a successful person in a capitalist society. You're not brainwashed. You're just doing what's normal for the society.
Feel like I'd accomplished something by making more money and charging more.
Like every other working professional?
And it's not like anything, insane. It was just like, okay, my first music video, they paid me $50.
Which tells me they didn't hire you for your skills. They hired you because all they had was $50.
That was, I had never done a music video, so sure, right? I would have done it for free, basically.
Then you're an idiot. Working for yourself for free while you're building something is okay, but working for other people for free is just stupidity.
And I wouldn't have expected him to pay like anywhere near like the normal rate or like the average rate for a music video like that.
Of course not. Your self-proclaimed skills are GoPro and After Effects.
But as I started working more, that became kind of the focus in terms of like putting stuff out and working on these projects.
What became the focus? We don't know what the object of your focus is. The money?
In a way that was, I guess, less disconnected from that early drive period of hyperfixation. And that's when it shifted over into procrastination.
I can see that you have some of the buzzwords when it comes to ADHD and neurodivergency, but you haven't given us any examples or demonstrated any evidence that you actually have ADHD and have struggled with it.
Which I guess brings me to the just topic of ADHD.
A good storyteller would have started with that.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
I was undiagnosed for...
Ever. You've never been diagnosed.
Oh.
Did you write the answer on your window?
Silent burp, you're welcome.
No, that's a stalling tactic. You need to make up a number that sounds realistic.
I was undiagnosed for, for forever.
You're so bad at this, and you stick to such fictional tropes that I can predict what you're going to say before you say it.
Until this, late last year.
So, the end of 2024, you went to a psychiatrist and got a real diagnosis, or you just had watched enough TikTok by then to determine that was your issue?
And stuff like that.
Oh my God, I'm right.
Was like... There would be projects where I would...
See how he just rolls over the fact that he never got a diagnosis?
Go somewhere and film Like went to Toronto, I went to New York, I went to LA, I was living in Washington. So I was doing these different things.
Thanks for answering the question I asked you 10 minutes ago.
I would film, get, footage while they're coordinating locations and things. And
This doesn't match the rest of your story. What you just told us is that you work with location scouts to film settings for potential videos. You don't actually do the videos.
I was never all that good at that. I think directing and coordinating all that things, it
Has nothing to do with the job you did. Your job was to show up and take footage. That's it. It wasn't even footage of the final product. It was footage to demonstrate what the setting of the final product might be.
it's a lot for like one person,
It can be, but you were never that person.
and like the regular channels of the music video like industry.
What you said was nonsensical. It's like you're trying to make a word salad, but all you have are buzzword croutons and no lettuce.
You have people around, you have a production coordinator and you have a location scouter and all these different things, but it was just run and gun type stuff.
Well, yeah, that's why professionals have infrastructure.
So despite that, I would manage to go to these places and get footage and everything.
From everything you've said, your job is something like somebody tells you, okay, we need some footage of this particular place in Toronto. You fly out there, you meet with the team, you film what they point to, and that's your job.
And that was still kind of a struggle coordinating that, because it's like,
No, I don't know. This YouTube channel is my first amateur production.
I'm kind of forgetting stuff. I'm trying to I'm having paralysis while
Holy crap, you were paralyzed? This is what happens when you don't know your buzzwords well enough. You're talking about decision paralysis, maybe?
going through this process and while on, set. This one video we did,
You just told us you've never been on a set. You've just told us that your job was shooting locations.
it was like we rented an Airbnb in like Long Island or somewhere in New York.
Are you honing in on a specific example of a difficult project, or does every story start out at an Airbnb in Long Island?
This one was through management, and
That doesn't mean anything. Are you trying to say the representatives of a particular artist?
they like invited a bunch of like models, and there was all this, just a bunch of different stuff on the set, and
Where? Why? How? What?
it was formal but informal because it was still like, it was basically a party, but
And you were the videographer. That's what you do. You're like the guy at weddings and bar mitzvahs.
just being filmed. And I mean, I was so overwhelmed.
Your job was to walk around with a camera and shoot shit. How could you be overwhelmed?
I had a friend there with me who was like a graphic designer. He was doing a lot of the work for the like the album art and stuff like that. And
Your job was to be a videographer of the production process, not any actual music videos.
it was so fucking overwhelming. He helped me, and that was super helpful.
What did he help you with? What was overwhelming? Your story doesn't make sense.
But I also was filming on like a main camera and then a Super 8 camera and then a VHS camera, and I was going to splice all the footage together.
Do you even know how to use a real film camera? Or VHS? I could see why that would be overwhelming. Was that your decision, or was it suggested to you?
And it was kind of like not a complex project per se. It was just like you had to get a lot of footage.
And you have no idea how to organize your own schedule in order to get the most footage out of those 3 cameras. Basically, you weren't qualified for the job.
And it was just super overwhelming, the entire process.
Yes, because you didn't know what you were doing. You were using equipment you've never used before. You were required to make your own schedule, and you don't know how to do that. You don't have the skills to do this job. That's what made the problem, not your ADHD that you don't have a diagnosis for.
And I'm sure there's some, executive dysfunction involved in having that feeling like an insurmountable experience.
So you're sure it had to do with executive dysfunction and not the fact that you couldn't do the job because you didn't have the skills.
And despite that, getting good, pretty decent footage,
So it worked out. Why is this your example story?
but also feeling like I never wanted to do something like that again.
Because it was too much work?
It's just really a lot.
So yes.
But the big thing that happened after that was when it came down to like editing,
Well, you haven't gotten better at it.
because filming that kind of stuff, despite its difficulty, was infinitely easier for me to handle than, or to actually do than the editing.
Noah, that's not just for you. That covers everybody. It is a lot easier to point and shoot than sit and edit.
Because filming, there's someone there that needs to have a camera pointed at them and press record, and there's no getting around that fact. If you don't show up,
you're going to tell us that you couldn't do the editing because you didn't have enough self-control to make yourself do it?
you just don't do the video. Editing, though, you can do a lot.
Of procrastination.
You can say your grandma died 12 different people in the area and no one will know.
So you're lazy. You just didn't want to do it. And you're going to blame all of this on a diagnosis you don't have?
And they'll all grant you that extra week or that extra month or that extra 3 months.
Holy forking shirt balls. I want a job like that.
To not give them what they're paying you to do. And I mean, that started to happen.
It wasn't his decision. It wasn't a conscious choice he made. It just started to happen. It wasn't that Noah wasn't doing his job or doing the thing he was being paid for. It just started to happen.
I would first of all schedule too many projects at once.
And you never learned not to do that?
And then when those projects would be scheduled, I would have paralysis in doing them. I would be waiting for, inspiration.
Again, it's decision paralysis and you don't have it. You were just stoned all the time.
To complete these projects. But, I don't know. What I've learned
is nothing. You've learned nothing. All you've learned is that you're too lazy to do that kind of work.
In the past couple years of making YouTube videos is that you can wait for inspiration, but a lot of times the process just needs to start.
That's not the lesson. You can't wait for inspiration if you're doing this for a living. The lesson is just do it.
Whether you're inspired or not, and you catch it along the way. And it's taken a long time for me to discover that.
That might be because you're not truly an artist. Art is compulsive. I have to do it.
But also part of that recently has been discovering things about ADHD and then medication for it.
What do you mean discovering ADHD and then medication for it? You don't have a diagnosis. How can you get medication legally?
Along with habits and things like that. But
so you're not taking ADHD medication?
This entire time, I'm just pushing projects off, and slowly the contacts that I have with music videos, they just fall off.
It wasn't that slow. It just felt slower because you were so stoned.
The communication falls through, and the contracts fall through.
Way to dodge personal responsibility. The communication falls through because you stop communicating, and the contracts fall through because you don't do your job.
In terms of payment, like there were stipulations, a lot of these things that you have to deliver this by the deadline.
No shit, Sherlock. It's called a fucking job. You're a child.
And I would miss these deadlines and I wouldn't get paid, or I would get paid in full. And then by the time it got to a point where it was like, this project is not being finished, what's going on?
Your lazy ass didn't do the work you were contracted to do. That's a you problem.
I would just be like, I'll send you whatever you want out of the money so that you could just charge me for filming, but I'm going to send you the footage as well, and I can't do this.
Can you do anything?
I can't do this for you.
So no, you can't. Despite
saying that I would, and despite setting myself up to, or setting everything up to
What I know is that you do not have the skills or professionalism to have been a videographer and editor in the first place.
Be able to complete the project.
Based on the fact that you are now a successful YouTuber, I think it has to do with your interest in the project, and you're only interested if you're the project.
I guess a caveat is something like that.
Caveat emptor. They should have known better than to hire you. That's what you're saying right now.
Kind of like what I was talking about before. Music videos can potentially be big projects, and
you do not have the skills or necessary talent to be part of that.
Doing it all on your own is a lot.
Maybe for you, but not for everybody.
But at the same time, something about my unwillingness to reach out
Is that the closest you're going to get to admitting fault? You chose not to communicate?
To like reach out and be like a cool guy that's like super masculine and has a big throat. To reach out and either ask for help or be creative in finding ways to manage these projects.
You're not a creative. You don't have creativity.
And I guess being more honest with myself
Is impossible for you. That's why you've decided you have ADHD, and it's the reason that you suck at your jobs.
about going through them. Instead of doing any of that, it's just paralysis, frozen up.
I know you're speaking metaphorically, but because you're not using the correct terms, I keep picturing you as a quadriplegic.
Terror, fear, of your Instagram DMs.
Your professional contacts were only through Instagram? That's not even professional.
Of the people that need something that you promised them.
In the real industry, people would be calling your home, emailing you. Heck, maybe even tracking you down to figure out what the hell you were doing with all their footage.
And I mean, like I said, I got fired from jobs in the sense that I would have to pay back, a few $1,000s.
That's not being fired. You quit.
Of a project fee to make sure people who didn't, I don't know, not call the police,
They wouldn't call the police. They'd take you to civil court.
but like just to make, I guess, it right on the project.
Oh, you think because you gave the money back, you made everything right. No, you didn't. You fucked it up for everybody, and it's still your fault.
However much you can do that, because it's not really making it right. They might, accept the return in fee, but that whole time, the process of getting a project out and what you're there for, to make a music video, is you're just being an asshole.
Is this something you only recently discovered?
Like, you're being an asshole, and it made me feel like an asshole. And I mean, it doesn't matter how much executive dysfunction you have, it's still a dick move.
And you don't have executive dysfunction. You're just a dick.
You can empathize and understand all you want
You're not getting any of that from me.
with something where these tasks that you should know how to do and you should be able to do.
No, executive dysfunction with tasks is washing the dishes when they need to be or doing the laundry. What you're describing is a lack of skill. You didn't know what you had to do, and you didn't take the time to learn it.
Still, your inability to do them still affects people in a way that just kind of sucks,
Yes, I know. You're an asshole.
It's like, understanding is good, but when it comes down to it, when people are paying you to do something, when there's a certain level of like integrity and responsibility and honesty that you have to have,
Don't hire Noah Samsen because he doesn't have it.
it doesn't make a difference whether you have executive dysfunction or not.
This is such lol cow behavior. Giving an excuse for your bad behavior and then saying, no, that doesn't really excuse me. I'm still taking accountability, but it's really not my fault because I have this thing that I don't actually have.
Because you just aren't doing that. And I don't know. I think because it's so tied up with the moral element of it, like because I'm like,
Completely amoral and most likely a sociopath?
you're making a promise and you're breaking that promise. It did, at the time, make me feel like a complete asshole.
At the time. So you've forgiven yourself now that you've discovered you have ADHD as diagnosed through TikTok.
Like, so much shame, so much feeling like, wow, I'm like faking my way through this.
Because you were. You didn't have the necessary skills to do the tasks that you were given. You were a fake.
I'm only, doing this for the money, and I don't actually like believe in any of this stuff.
Believe in what stuff? You were talking about making music videos.
Or I don't actually engage with the, music.
You're just giving excuses in addition to your ADHD why you couldn't do your job. And again, all of these are excuses. You could have done that job. You could have learned the skills to do that job, and you made the conscious decision not to.
Beyond doing that, and then when I get to that position, I'm like complacent. It was like a feeling of like, oh, you're just complacent. You just feel like you've made it, and that's why you're playing League
You're mistaking complacency for laziness.
right now for the 12th hour of the day. You know, that it's because you think you're a hot shit and you think you're the best guy, and that's cringe.
You delayed doing the work because you already knew you were the best. You didn't have to prove it to anybody by actually doing the job you were paid for.
As opposed to just literally being like, yeah, I am completely stalled in this process in a way that doesn't compute.
No. You just told us you're an arrogant asshole who was playing video games instead of doing contracted work.
For the average, I guess, or like, what's the word? For the neurotypical person.
You know, I saw you look at your phone to get that word, right? And if you have all the words there, how are you getting decision paralysis wrong multiple times?
That just has something to do, and maybe there's, procrastination isn't obviously necessity of or necessarily a neurodivergency product.
Quick, give us a reason that it's part of your neurodivergency.
But it is, when it gets to that extreme point of like literally paying people money and having to relinquish to go back on your, I guess, contract.
You said but, so I predict this will continue with you producing some excuse as to why your procrastination is strictly related to ADHD and is not a moral failing of yours.
And things you signed, and just in a general way, just be an asshole as in terms of, or not be an asshole. I'm trying not to moralize it.
I know, you don't want to call yourself an asshole. You're trying not to moralize things, but here's the problem. You can't choose when or when not to make something a moral issue. You're an asshole, and there's nothing you can do about that.
But that's what it is. I don't know. To speak candidly on it, it doesn't matter, what's going on in my head.
Then why is this video titled ADHD Got Me Fired?
But once I eventually just stopped doing that, I think around that time is when I started editing for YouTube.
You were already doing YouTube. How much time is passing here?
And I think in that, I was editing for a YouTuber called Noel Miller, if anyone knows, one of the TMG guys. And I edited for him for like 3 years.
Because you realized that talking heads were a lot easier to edit than complex cinematography?
And that process was very, for the most part, it went really well.
For the most part?
And even though I hadn't really engaged with things like ADHD.
What you're really saying is, at that point in your life, you had no excuses for your douchebaggery. You have selectively edited this video, so I can only imagine that you're keeping the cough in because you think it makes you look vulnerable.
It was still, even though I hadn't tried to even attempted to build a sort of system around that sort of executive dysfunction.
You can't build a system around your executive dysfunction, and if you had an ADHD diagnosis, you'd know enough about it to stop saying this stupid shit.
I was still able to keep up, and I think a lot of it had to do with the sort of infrastructure.
You mean when it's an organized project and everybody has clearly defined roles, you find it easier to complete?
In terms of, there was like a producer, Alex, shout out to Alex, who was like, we were all kind of in constant communication, and there was also I don't know, Noel was there was, I think, a certain, this was the most, I guess, internet / real IRL famous person I'd ever worked with, and so it was very
The word you're looking for is professional.
When you get this job, or when you get these, these, you don't want to squander. It's a really good opportunity, and if you keep working with this person, that's going to be just great for a lot of different things, for your resume, for...
Okay, you just said that you liked this new editing job better than your previous editing job because this time you were working with someone famous?
Consistency, for other, connections, I guess, with editing and things.
What he's trying to say here but not say is that he was more interested in doing this job professionally because there were further professional connections to be made through it.
But there were still a lot of times where I would be pushing projects back a lot.
Because you're obstinate and lazy.
And I would complete them mostly out of the drive this is a really good opportunity type of thing.
Your problem isn't executive dysfunction. Your problem was lack of motivation.
But it would be scary and difficult, and I would put it off to the last minute, and I'd be 4 a.m. rendering.
I'm still confused about the timeline. Do you not yet know you have ADHD, so you just feel like your failure is a moral one?
Hoping to God that the edit, which would be not a great edit, it would be passable, generally, but a lot of these videos would come back with notes.
And that's your job.
And, for the first 6 months, none of them came back with notes because I'm going off.
You mean the quality of your work declined as you lost interest in the work you were doing?
I was editing like so much in one of the videos I did, like the video got extreme backlash from the fan base because it was so highly edited and produced, and it was just kind of crazy, like engaging editing and things.
Whoops, my bad. It wasn't that you did a bad job, it's that you did too good a job for that audience.
And obviously, that like when I sent the video, they like really liked it. They're like, yeah, this is great. And then they posted it, and it was like immediately, this is everyone was really fucking pissed at me.
Why would the fans be pissed at you? They don't know who you are. Are you saying that the people you were working with were pissed at you? Because they approved it. It's their fault. None of this makes sense.
And it was because I was so locked in and I was so ready to perform as well as I could.
Tell yourself whatever you gotta. What's the point of this part of your story?
And it went from that height of pure
Imagination.
grind set to a lot of times where I'm pushing stuff back weeks and weeks.
When are we? I'm so confused.
What year is it?
And I think eventually we settled on like one video a week schedule.
Just one? Lucky.
Which, thank God, I think he was doing like a lot of comedy touring, so he was just trying to like reel back and do one consistent video a week. And I mean, these videos, from a video editor's perspective, they're not difficult
I've already covered this.
to put together. From an experienced video editor's perspective,
You're not a professional.
there was no animating, they were pretty like rough cuts together, and then compiling assets like screenshots. He'd be reading Reddit posts, and I'd have to like scroll through the assets.
He's trying to make it sound like a big deal, but what he's describing is the job of an editor.
Just animate. That's not even, it's kind of like animation.
Cool, so's this. It's kind of like animation, but it's not, because that would be impossible to do 3 times a week.
But not like proper, 3D or anything.
He's not talking about anything that's actually complicated. When he uses the word animation, that is the verb used. It is not because he's making Mickey Mouse, it's because he is typing a word that will fly across the screen.
And I would still put these things off till the night before.
A procrastination issue like this would show up a lot sooner in life. Like, you would have done this in school too. So I'm really surprised that you didn't get your ADHD non-diagnosis sooner.
Not all of them, sometimes I'd be feeling inspired, but that's the type of thing where I'm also, bipolar. And
No, you're not. If you had bipolar disorder type 1 or 2, you would have told us a lot sooner, and ADHD wouldn't be the focus of this video because bipolar disorder would be your entire issue. You don't have it.
So there'd be periods where I'd be like, wee, woo, let's go, let's grind. And then at the same time,
You're describing a fictional bipolar disorder, and what you're about to describe is a mixed episode, which is a further complication you wouldn't know enough about to talk about.
the sort of debilitating procrastination and intense negative emotions around completing a project would be I would be very hyper aware of them.
That's not a mixed state. That's not bipolar disorder. You're just looking for labels to excuse your actual faults.
They would be,
Unfortunately for you, I do. I know enough about these things that you're claiming to experience to know that you're full of shit.
they would be.
If you've run out of words, check the script on your phone.
So, I don't know. I think I still
Don't know enough about any of the conditions I'm claiming to have to successfully pretend that I have them?
I've been in a situation in the last month or so where I'm very single focused.
Another common lolcow trait is to talk about some sort of offline situation or problem that they can't tell you the details about, but it's the reason they're not producing the content that you're expecting.
And it's single focus on work, and that has been really helpful to kind of get into certain patterns and habits of work.
Not if you have bipolar disorder and or ADHD. It just means you have a hyper focus right now and a fixation, and it's not building patterns that are going to be repeatable.
And distance, what am I trying to say here? Being in an environment like that helps to develop some sort of control over these more debilitating habits.
If you have debilitating habits, then that's not executive dysfunction. That's just poor executive function.
Or habits that are detrimental to what I'm doing.
I think he's trying to tell us that he stopped smoking so much pot.
But that is a rarity to even be able to have like a single space and free time to like work these things out.
Not if you were diagnosed with ADHD. You would have had assistance throughout your schooling. Not if you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You would have had assistance throughout your schooling. You're lying about both of those conditions and trying to find excuses for the fact that you just suck.
And also have the ability to like afford medication.
He means pot.
Because it's fucked right now, you know?
The implication being that the American healthcare system is so fucked that he's lucky he's able to afford his medication, which he isn't actually getting because he doesn't have any diagnoses.
Vyvanse shortage, Adderall shortage.
Have nothing to do with you. You don't have prescriptions for either. And you said you were lucky that you could afford it, but then you talk about shortages. So what you're implying is that there are shortages, so you can't get your medication, but if you could get your medication, you could afford it. See, this is what happens when you don't know enough about the subject you're lying about.
You can't get the off-label, or what is it called? You can't get the...
It's called generic, and it has nothing to do with affordability and everything to do with manufacturing.
generic and Vyvanse.
Are the answers on your window?
Non-generic is $430.
Which you know because you've paid for it because you really have a prescription? It isn't one of the notes on your phone?
If it's not covered by your insurance, and for, the first two, it's still not covered by my insurance.
You have medical insurance.
And that's kind of fucked that I am willing to pay that.
No. I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I think you're lying about having insurance too.
For this medication.
That's never been prescribed to you, but you're probably spending at least $400 a month on pot.
But having, I guess, discovered how deeply it affects me in a way that makes me feel like, I don't know, empowered might be an intense word.
You would feel empowerment with a diagnosis of ADHD because then you'd have a reason for things like your procrastination, and you'd be able to work with that and work with people who understood how your ADHD brain works to help you build a better life. But we're not talking about that because you don't have it.
But it's more like finally being able to get things done, not even in a productive sense.
That doesn't make any sense. You're just spewing nonsense right now because you've run out of buzzwords.
In a productive sense, for sure, but in a for what I really want to do, which is write, and film and stuff, but like writing a video essay. I've always really struggled with that. I'm starting to grasp the process of it.
You may have started, but you never finished.
I'm finally like really honing in on what I think makes a good video essay and how I can go through the process of replicating that.
Which is hard to do when you don't have basic essay writing skills.
And eventually, hopefully, really diving into this world.
Which you have successfully done despite your lack of skills. That's amazing. Congratulations.
That I'm like very passionate about and that I've always wanted to do. So to my mind, because I can afford it, which is fucking stupid because I just am always fucking around at home.
The longer you go on, the more obvious it is that you're not medicated. Because
I can, I'll pay that money, but that is not the case for the majority of people. And for that reason, I guess...
What you're saying sounds like you're about to tell us that you're giving up taking your medication out of solidarity with the poor.
There's no real prescription
from a doctor because you don't really have ADHD and or bipolar disorder
that I can offer.
Well, of course not. You're not a licensed medical practitioner.
other than a testimony to my experiences of how maybe there's some relation to being fired
Yeah, but you weren't fired. You quit.
or this condition orienting you in the world in a way that doesn't fit because there's not enough accommodation.
Nice buzzword with accommodation, but could you explain what it means and how to use it in a sentence?
Or because there's such a demand or a heavy burden, let's say.
Let's not. You're making shit up so that your audience can self-victimize. You want everybody to be a victim together with you. You're all just victims. You don't do anything wrong. Things happen to you.
Of continuous work. And I'm still speaking from a place of I was doing silly like little music videos, not to trivialize it. I was working, but I was doing things that gave me free time.
What you're saying here is that you quit Papa John's before you had a steady income.
But in like a studio system, if I'm a producer in a music video, if I'm filming, that doesn't fly. That shit doesn't fly.
All of the people who are trained to actually have those jobs already know this.
Those are jobs, and you got to show up and you got to perform.
That's all jobs, even the ones you quit.
Let's say, or you got to, like being a production assistant, you have to, the traditional filmmaking or film industry.
Ooh, please, give me more information about something I know more about than you do.
You don't get to fuck around. And that's the middle ground between the constraints around me are so loose.
Constraints, not with straight people, especially loose straight people. They can be dangerous.
That it really can enable the worst tendencies to be exaggerated, I guess the word is.
And your guess is incorrect. The real word that you were looking for is exacerbated.
As opposed to, I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this.
But there's a map on your phone.
I hope any of that made sense.
You shouldn't have hope. If you're making a video with a story that you are communicating to other people, you should have that story organized before you start, you know, like checking the buzzwords on your phone to make sure you're saying them right.
I know it took me a while to get to the part where I got fired, but
I don't get it. Were you fired from the pizza place?
I guess the final point on the story is that, yeah, I had to break a bunch of contracts.
You didn't have to. You chose to. You chose not to do the work and you chose to break the contracts. That's a you thing.
And I had communications with people.
So you had industry contacts and you lost them because they found out you were unreliable.
And I am no longer in contact with them.
You already said that.
And also, like, at the time, it was like, oh, this person that you could have worked with and, like, you could have really together developed artistic portfolios together. And, like...
You fucked it all up and you're realizing in retrospect that you had a good thing going?
You are inspired by their work in some ways, beyond like a business opportunity, but an actual artistic opportunity that you don't have that anymore.
The vast majority of professional creatives do not get to work on something that they would have chosen for themselves.
And I do think a lot of that was due to sort of the types of behaviors that I do.
The word was exhibited, and your behaviors are not related to any neurodivergency or emotional regulation disorder. They're just related to the fact that you're a dumbass who gets lazy.
I guess, related to having ADHD.
You don't have it.
So, I don't know, just wanted to do that. Like I said, sorry for no chore footage, but this is still something you can listen to and
Fact check.
Go off and on to your day with great righteous anger.
You're close. I'm feeling righteous, but it's not anger, it's more like frustration. I'm frustrated with the fact that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people like you, undereducated idiots, trying to educate the world.
Or whatever. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks to the patrons. Shout out.
He did have 2 different Patreons going.
RIP shout out. And hope you're doing well. I'll see you when I see you.
This entire video was a complicated lie so you could brag about your career while at the same time excusing yourself for all of the mistakes you've made because it wasn't you, it was the ADHD! Which you don't have a diagnosis for, and you don't have a diagnosis for bipolar disorder either. If you had either of those things, you would have had an experience in schooling that would have prepared you for the difficulties that you say you faced after you dropped out of college. As a white male in American schools, you would have been diagnosed in your childhood. It wouldn't be something you discovered scrolling through TikTok. And you're just as bad at telling stories as you are at writing video essays. So I'm disappointed. I was hoping you'd be good at something. In the comments below, tell me what you think about this sort of thing. The reason I decided to actually create content was because of my frustration with these undereducated would-be educators. They don't know anything, and they're misinforming the general public on the things that they think. And unfortunately, it means that sometimes my videos are more critique than comedy. I think I got in a few laughs, so I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I won't see you next time unless you leave a comment, so leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hurry back, we can